Hi there, and welcome to the Cotswold Explorer. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and we're exploring the wonderful region of the Cotswolds in southwest England. For the last couple of years, we've been following in the footsteps of Herbert Evans, who wrote this wonderful book, Highways and Byways in Oxford and the Cotswolds, in 1905. It's a beautiful spring day. The sun is shining. It has that wonderful effect of lighting up the tops of the hills in the distance. Our spirits are very high. And behind me you will see one of the great Cotswold manor houses, Little Wolford Manor. There's a lot of building work going on here, so some wonderful restorations are obviously taking place. We're going to tell you a little bit about it. We're going to show you around the one or two lodges that are worth looking at. And then we're going to move on to Great Wolford. Evans dropped in here just briefly in 1905, as this Warwickshire manor house is a brilliant example of 15th century country house architecture. Fortunately for us, it's visible from the road, as unlike in Evans' time, you can't just bang on the door and ask to be shown around. Frederick Griggs's illustration of the house is particularly good, and Evans writes as follows. Just beyond Weston, on the further side of the Shipston Road, is Little Wolford, famous for its interesting 15th century manor house. You may make an afternoon's excursion there from Brailes, or take it in on a ride to Forshire Stone, which marks the meeting place of the shires of Gloucester, Worcester, Warwick and Oxford. The manor house is of the typical form characteristic of its date, a hall in the centre with a projecting wing on either side. One of the wings has been pulled down. The remaining one is of stone below and half timber work above. The central part is all stone. He goes on to say, in the hall, which preserves its screen and gallery, hang rusty weapons and accoutrements, and a curious instrument of iron, which the farmer's wife tells you is an eel drag, with which the eels were dragged up from ponds. She will also affirm that King Charles dined in the hall, and will show you the oven in which he was concealed from his pursuers. You may believe as much of this as you like, but you will refrain from hinting at your scepticism to your guide, or you may miss the draught from the Chalybeate spring down in the field behind the house with which your departure is graced. These short paragraphs tell us so much about the way life has altered over the last 100 years. You certainly can't just bang on the door of a country house and ask to be shown around. If you did, you would, understandably, be given short shrift. I also very much doubt the hall is filled with rusty weapons, relics of a time that we, fortunately, have felt able to relegate to the mists of ancient history. It's much more likely that it's been made into a huge kitchen dining room with a granite-topped island in the middle. But we will never know. In a wall on the roadside by the manor house is a public drinking fountain, set in a recess partly made up of architectural fragments, including pieces of 15th century windows and a number of early 17th century carved stones, one of these being a broken shield of Rafe Sheldon, impaling Throckmorton. I wonder if the new owners are even aware that they have the privilege of a Chalybeate spring on their land. A Chalybeate spring, for those of you not too familiar with medieval English, means a natural mineral spring containing iron salts. If they are, and perhaps they will be now, I hope they will use their undoubted influence to ensure the water from this natural gift is appreciated and kept pure on its course to the rivers. Some of you may remember when we were in Hamlet, just south of the A40 trunk road, we discovered a fresh spring spouting from the ground and flowing crystal clear down the valley. At the time, I mentioned I'd joined a group called WASP, an acronym for Windrush Against Sewage Pollution, because I was perfectly aware even then that the wonderful clear spring water gushing from the hillside would be so polluted just a few miles downstream that I wouldn't let my grandchildren swim in it. Today, my friends, the 10th of March 2023, I am in a state of such anger I can barely speak these words. I have just had a text message to tell me that after an entirely normal few days of gentle rain and showers, with no sign whatever of exceptional circumstances, Thames Water, our local water company, are pumping untreated human effluent into our local waterway, the Shilbrook, supposedly under the regulation that allows them to do so in an exceptional emergency. The fact that they are allowed by law to do this, that the whole system is entirely self-policed, that however hard I try, I can't find any reason why, if it costs them money to do so, the water companies should be motivated properly to look after our most basic human requirement, sends me into a very uncharacteristic gloom. We really are going to have to do something about it. Just as a starter, perhaps, you might help me and support WASP a little. Their website is windrushwasp.org. If you are local, consider joining, or indeed if you're not. And perhaps send a few pennies to their fund. We will try hard to make a difference. I don't need to explain to you, who listen with interest to me describing some of the most beautiful countryside in the world, that our waterways are fundamental to our very existence, let alone our pleasure and the health of our countryside. I hope you've enjoyed our little trip around Little Wolford. It's a lovely little hamlet, and the manor house is an absolute Cotswold classic. It's so beautiful on this lovely spring day. We've had a nice time here. I love the fact that these lodges are dotted around the estate. Extraordinary buildings. It's been fun. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can find us on all the normal platforms. Visit our website where you'll find all kinds of information about what we've done in the past. And we look forward to seeing you very soon somewhere else in the Cotswolds.